hello to anyone who's watching. Like I said in part 2, we are going to the region around the Danube River, around the 5th millennium BC. Most of the time, people refer to this culture as the Vinca culture, named for a little village nearby Belgrado in Serbia. In fact, the term Vinca culture has been attached to several cultures spread over a bigger area, spanning all the way along the Danube River from the Adriatic coast to the river delta at the Black Sea. The Vinca culture, also named Turdos culture, was officially first discovered in the beginning of the 20th century by a man nicknamed Deda Pantu. He discovered the Vinca site after undermining a hill, and this so-called White Hill was in fact what is nowadays named a tell. The wiki description of a tell informs us that this is an artificial hillside with a distinct form, coming into existence over a long time period in which succeeding cultures built their settlements on the same spot, and thus creating a mound over time. So the villager took some figurines he found in the rubble to Belgrade, where at the National Museum he met an archaeologist, Professor Vasic, who immediately ordered excavations. And covered was an early Neolithic site, bigger than anyone held possible. Satellite imagery would later point out that the site is the earliest metropolis uncovered so far, giving place to around 20,000 people. Over here, the earliest trace of metallurgy were found. That is, earlier places like the Shandahar caves in Armenia show early use of surface copper. Here, metallurgy took place by the process of smelting technology. Vasic not only reported the treatment of cinnabar, malachite and azurite, clear evidence in the form of slag and crucibles discovered at several sites in Serbia, Bulgaria, Macedonia, indicate a widespread form of metallurgy between 5000 and 4000 BC already. Unfortunately, also this site has been tormented with war through the ages, and apparently, according to an article from 2013, the site has been largely the site of Vinca, that is, has been largely neglected in many ways. Even the local museum that was set up had to close after the opening. Excuse me, because heavy rain started dripping through the holes in the roof. A total disinterest caused financing this important archaeological site to remain minor, and a considerable part of the finds have been discarded and disappeared into private collections. This last piece of ceramics comes from a site in Varna in Bulgaria, where excavations of a necropolis showed a significant knowledge of metallurgy, and the gold treasure discovered there has drawn international attention, and hopefully this will cause reconsidering the importance of all these Danubian sites. But on ceramics, a handful of linguists tried to get attention of the scientific world for these inscriptions found on tablets and inscripted in ceramics, claiming that these glyphs are actually proof of an early form of writing, but that to little avail. The official narrative sticks to the Sumerians as being the ones who started writing. And as you can see, there are different symbols here that are nominated as writing symbols. Some include the swastika, some do not, however, and they stay with the idea that the swastika is nothing else than a potter's mark. Other researchers, however, will tell us the symbol is related to weaving, as it would represent a wool comb. we find it indeed not only on loom weights, but also on many spindle whorl stones, I mean. And there have been a lot of these stones excavated, for example, at what is supposed to be the remnants of Troy by a German called Schliemann. I will talk about this person later on in the series in another time span, but I just want to show the examples of how many of these stones would look like. There's an example of Kiev also, which is not exactly in the Danube region, but still it's from the same time area, and it's more or less in the same place.
At first, I was only familiar with modern spindles. I became curious about all of the whorls that were being found in archaeological digs. Tons and tons and tons of them, thousands of them. They were not attached to their spindle sticks. What I did was, now my curiosity was rolling, was start to study some of the earliest spindle and whorl combinations I could find. There are very, very few spindle sticks. All they mostly find are spindle whorls. This one is it's a copy of a spindle stick and whorl found together in 825 CE in the Viking world. I was shocked that the weight is very heavy, it's over an ounce. On top, it's made of a stone, and that the stick had a peculiar property. There are some good things about a removable whorl. One of them is, if you have a little tiny whorl and you're spinning a very, very fine yarn, you can have a very light whorl, which is good, but it might, after a while, get to be too heavy. And in that case, you can simply take it off and put a different whorl on there, different weight. I can adjust what I have here. I could have a thick round whorl, which gives me a fast spin. I might want a big wide whorl, which gives me a slower spin.
In my mother tongue, there is an expression, loosely translated, it says, "This does not finish the sock," meaning there is more to it. At least that is what I think at this point. Namely, these so-called spindle whorls could as well, or might as well have been a part of a pump drill. And yeah, these guys drilled like crazy for all kinds of reasons. I chose to use a part of a video made 2 years ago by a YouTube channel by the name that goes by the name Primitive Technology, in which the guy shows how to make these drills, these instruments from scrap. I linked the channel below, definitely one of the better channels on the matter out there. The whorl stones actually stabilize the drill at the lower point of the stick. His video shows how to drill wood, but there's no stretch to move to the point where the drill bits are used to enable us to drill even through the hardest rock. Next to chert, quartz crystal and other minerals that score high on the Mach scale, they also used nephrite drill bits. Here are some examples of quartz crystal bits. Now I have read that archaeologists, when excavating graves, readily determine the gender of a person by the grave gifts that accompany the skeletons. Males would have weapons, females would have ceramics and whorl stones. I think it is safe to assume that these stones and drills were also used for fire making, and that the task of making and keeping the fire alive were assigned to women as well. I will return to this topic in an appendix video that I'm planning to make for this part 3. Just wanted to add that among the stones are also found these so-called drill sockets, and these are examples excavated in Anatolia that to show how they would look like. With plenty examples of the Neolithic drill frenzy available from around the globe, I want to close this part off with a discovery that was made only a few years back, namely the nephrite swastikas excavated in a site in Bulgaria. Several of what archaeologists refer to as frog-legged swastikas have been found buried in a layer just underneath a settlement, and according to them, these artifacts were buried there in order to implore fertility. Now the plan is to investigate that connection made by archaeologists in an additional episode, and I hope to be able to post a short video on that in a few days. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I see you soon.